With the recent resurrection by Wilson of the Dynapower name, now would be a perfect time to review one of the original sets of Dynapower irons and take them out onto the course and see how we get on with them. So what are we waiting for?
Right, I normally start with the woods when I'm doing the reviews, but today I'm going to start with the irons because I've been wanting to feature this set for quite a while now. I'm sure I've said in the past that here in the UK it's hard to come by the best American sets at a reasonable price, and this is one of the few sets that I do have. Wilson Staff Dynapower Turfrider Sole, which was available in 1962 and 1963. Here I've got a full set of 2 through to pitching wedge. On the table here I've got 2, 3, 5, 8 and pitching wedge. So if we start off with the 2 iron, if we look at the sole first, that's where the club gets its name. It's quite a wide sole for the time, and we can see it's got a very nice, I don't know if the camera can pick that out or not, half frosted sole. So the front face is frosted and the trail side is just polished chrome. It's got the fluid feel hosel and plug as we'd expect, Turfrider Sole there in the heel, and the Wilson Staff logo there with a gold circle around it. Frosted on the raised portion there. The serial numbers on this set are all the same. So that's the basic design of the club. We can see that it's quite a meaty club lower down on the sole, so it is one of the easier clubs to hit from this period. Nice weight low down, makes it easy to launch the ball. Very attractive hosel with a knurling and 2 bands there. The ferrule, black, red, gold and a black ring at the very top. Some of you might have noticed this ferrule, which is different. It's not actually different, it's just that the red band has broken off there. So that should be a red band in there, but it's got broken at some stage, unfortunately. And I think that's partly due to the fact that the 5 iron seems to have been the favourite practice club of the owner, or of a previous owner. Probably the least played is the pitching wedge. This doesn't have a serial number, which is normal. The pitching wedges and sand wedges were usually bought separately. So we can see that this one unusually is in the best condition of them all. We've got very little wear on the sole, which means that we can easily see that frosted leading edge on this one and the polished trail edge. If we have a look at the face of this one, we can see we've got the Wilson trophy there, it looks like, picked out in gold. So overall they're a very attractive set of clubs. Let's have a look at the shaft bands. We've got a black line there just below the first step on the clubs, which makes it easier, I presume, when you're setting the clubs up to measure the distance down to that first step. The shaft band itself, we've got Staff Pro by Wilson and S there for a stiff shaft. And again, Staff Pro. So stiff shafts, the grips, I think these are all original leather grips. Bit of a tooling there on the upper section where we put our hands. Nice grip collar there. If I get that into focus, on the book cap we can see the Wilson flags. And I've just noticed, looking closely, it actually says made in Scotland. So these must have been assembled in Scotland then. So here's me saying that they're an American set. I assume that the heads came from America anyway. I don't think they would have set up to produce these heads in Scotland. There would have been quite a complicated forging process. I would imagine that they just shipped these over as finished heads from America, where they were assembled in Scotland. That completes the irons, but as you probably noticed, we only go to the pitching wedge there. So for the sand iron, I don't have a Turfrider Sole sand iron. This comes from another set of clubs which I think were made in the Irvine factory in Scotland, and it matches the woods that we'll be looking at in a moment. Wilson within a laurel wreath, I think, was the mark used by the Scottish factory. Dynapower, Wilson, SI sand iron. Moving on to the woods then. I have featured these before in one of the earlier videos I produced. They're not an American Wilson. I believe these were produced at Wilson's Scottish factory in Irvine. And on the toe, Climaguard Strata Block and Dynapower Nice insert with a clearish piece of polymer with the gold Wilson laurel leaf behind that. So we've got three wood there and the 1 wood, 4300, so this is a 43 inch shaft on the driver. And here's the putter. Everything so far has been Wilson, so of course I've gone for a Wilson putter. First glance it might look like an 8802, but it's actually the 8813, which I believe was the Staff version of the 8802. We can see the Wilson Staff logo there, and it says Wilson Staff on the sole, whereas the 8802 doesn't actually say Staff. So although the 8802 is the one that's spoken about in more revered terms, the 8813 you could argue is actually the better quality putter. 3 sight lines on that one. I think that they're original, so again I think that this was probably produced in the Scottish factory at Irvine. Fluted steel shaft. It's the original leather wrap grip. So that's the putter, Wilson Staff 8813.
Well, that's the clubs reviewed that I'll be using in today's on-course video. Before I go on to the course with the clubs though, a quick look at the Dynapower Turfrider Sole clubs. I've already discussed the Dynaweight and the Dynapower clubs in a previous video, thumbnail shown here. Unfortunately, during that video I had a very poor round on the course, as hinted at by the frequent use of the 5-letter word there. The Dynapower Turfrider Sole was Wilson's pro-line club, and it was used by a couple of the greatest players of all time, Sam Snead, who we all know of, and Mickey Wright, who was one of the greatest female golfers ever to swing a club. But perhaps its most famous user wasn't a professional golfer at all, but in fact was Alan Shepard, who used it on the Apollo 14 mission to hit shots on the moon. He'd smooth the club head on board the spaceship, hidden in the sock as shown here, and using some adapted components he assembled a makeshift golf club. He had a few attempts at hitting the ball and made 2 successful contacts. Using recently digitalised imagery, it's been estimated that the first shot went just over 20 yards and his best one went approximately 40 yards, which isn't bad going really, considering the cumbersome gear that he was wearing. So Wilson have the only club of which it can truly be said that it's out of this world. Well, that's enough of that now. Let's get on to the course and see what we can do with the clubs. As usual, here are the as-measured lofts for the clubs, and you can see that the Turfrider irons are within a degree of my preferred lofts. That's a 52 degree pitching wedge, 4 degree steps to a 24 degree 3-iron. Hello Wilson fans, today I'm going to start on the 3rd hole. I'm going to play 6 holes of match play against the course, and I'm going to try the Buzzworld Challenge. So I need to hit a fade, a draw, a high and a low, and I need to say when I'm going to hit those shots. So 6 holes, got 2 par 5s in there. Should be an interesting round. It's another windy day, so I'll be relying a lot on the voiceover. Usual push out to the right, just short of the bunker. I speak the truth when I say that's come up just short of the bunker. I'm going to try a 7-iron. I don't want to duff it into the bunker. I managed to do what I intended there. Got 165 to the front of the green. I'm going to try the 5-iron. Hope for a little bit of run down and get it onto the edge. Bit of a slice. 4 strike. Chance for a little pitch, which for me is pretty decent. Onto the green, leaves me this for a half. Not to be. So that's a bogey and a hole lost. 1 down. Right. Shot hole. I'm 1 down. Hitting driver, calling the fade. And that faded well enough, so that's 1 challenge completed. Second shot, I hit 5-iron, a little bit too high really, and it didn't make much ground. Next was a wedge, and again I didn't get it as well as I hoped, and I'm finished just on the fringe. Get down in 2 for a half. It was looking good for a while, but it just rolled a few feet by. And that was just a bad putt all round. So that's a double bogey, net bogey, another hole lost. On to my third hole, no stroke this time. And there's my customary shank on this hole.
What is it about the second shot on this hole? I always, very often shanking. I'm sorry to say, once again I've had a camera mini pod failure. The plastic's just broke on this one. So I'm already 2 down. I'm in difficulty here. I'll just record what I do and make a comment at the end. But I'm going to try and play my low here back into the wind and see what it does.
Well, as already shown, my shank of a second shot has put me on the 6th tee, as indicated by the dot here. I then hit a brilliant shot to 2 feet and tapped in for the par. Well, no, I didn't really. I just made the edge of the green and 2-putted for a bogey, which without a shot was a lost hole. On to the next. I get a shot on this one, hit a 7-iron, which just made the front edge. And I'm actually going to get some film footage here. I'll just put the camera on the ground so at least I can show something. Putting from the front fringe and just goes by on the right hand side. Left me this for the win. And I made it. Right, well that was a win. So that's 3 losses, 1 win. I'm 2 down with 2 to play. Next hole then, I hit a good drive, left myself a 9-iron, which I should have took an extra club really because this came short. I chipped on, left me this for the win to keep the match going. Drifted by on the side. Apologies for the bad camera angle. This was for a bogey, which would be a halved hole, but I lose the match. Right, so I didn't win that hole, so I lose the match. What would it be, 2-1? I carried on playing the final hole that I was intending to play. Hit a reasonable drive, about 200 yards. Hit a fairway wood. Left myself, I think, a 5-iron, which came up short, but I managed to chip on and then hole a putt for a par. Right, I played out the last hole as well, having lost the match 2-1, and I did manage a par on the last. There wasn't a shot hole, so that would have been a half. But overall, I just didn't quite get things going. Let's have a quick look at the stats. A pretty disappointing round really. I was hoping to play better with the clubs, but I think the camera tripod breaking put me in a bad mood, although I was already really struggling with the game at that point anyway. Well, there you go. I hope you liked it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.